Today is the day after the Buffalo Bills, lost to the Kansas City Chiefs again in the AFC Championship game. So I think that's kind of where I'll start because I feel like the entire region and the city, that's kind of where we are today. So I want to provide some post-game analysis in the short term and then maybe try to paint an optimistic picture of the future. But yeah, yesterday's victory by the Chiefs was obviously not what Buffalo Bills fans had been hoping for, rooting for, maybe even expecting. But it's the reality. We've lost again. This is now 0-4 against the Chiefs. And it was obviously disappointing. I think going into the game, there seemed to be a universal and kind of community-wide cautious optimism. I don't think anyone really... We all kind of knew we had a shot to win. Obviously, we know we could lose, but I think we all felt pretty good going into the game. And after... Right, it was a challenging game. But I think, the big takeaway after it is kind of a universal... I don't want to say numbness, but I think we're all kind of... Yeah, it was disappointing, right? We feel like we did have a shot, and I don't know. It was just we didn't feel like we played our best, but here we are again. So I think couple takeaways. I think the media, right? The media, national media, and tries to always spin it as Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes and kind of turn it into like a boxer analogy, which is true. I think Patrick Mahomes and Allen are both quarterbacks, but ultimately it's, the Bills versus the Chiefs, and the Bills and Chiefs are each rosters of 53 players with coaching staffs and regimes. Josh Allen never plays Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes never plays Josh Allen. They're each playing each other's defense. So I think just a couple takeaways. What it seems. I mean, it just seemed like a tough game. I know going into it, I was hoping to see what I call bully ball, but I was really hoping we would be able. Right, our offensive line has been tremendous this year, and I was really hoping we'd come out and be able to run the ball, which we showed flashes of, but I think really. I don't think our offensive line had quite the advantage of what I thought it was going to be going into the game. I think, the Chiefs were able to shut down our tush-push play, and really they were very stout at the point of attack. And it was disappointing we didn't have any variations or really no trick plays. And defensively, it just seems like our defense is still struggling with the same issues we've been struggling with a couple of years. And we just seem to, right, we're undersized, small, kind of prevent, bend, don't break, which is fine and great for a philosophy, but I think it's time for the Bills to really. I'd like to see our defense just get more physical, and it was frustrating to watch. I think kind of a good epitome was the fourth down play at the end of the game, right, where the Chiefs coaching staff was just able to dial up a perfectly executed blitz where I think they had 2 or 3 guys come rushing at Allen, and Allen made a last ditch kind of Hail Mary attempt, and again, right, we had our receiver drop the ball. And I think it's just I think just the Chiefs, right? Mahomes is a good quarterback, but I think he gets way too much credit. It's always seems like he's kind of the Michael Jordan, or he's like the one man show, which is true. He's a great player, but he's just one cog in the Chiefs machine, which is very well oiled and run from their ability to draft and develop players, assemble a roster, and just the coaching staff of the Chiefs just seems to be just. It's their edge. It's just better than what the Bills got. It seemed like they had answers and they were game planned and prepped for us, but we just didn't have the ability to really adapt or be creative, and it felt like another kind of. We're definitely mismatched. It feels like on the coaching. Not to say that McDermott's a bad coach. I think he's proven he's a great NFL coach, but it's more just kudos to the Chiefs staff. I think Andy Reid is just at a different level. He's really, he's the modern Belichick. He's the current mad genius, and he's just really the cream of the crop coach. And then I think Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, also just kind of flies under the radar. And the ability for them to have both those coaches, maybe the top offensive and defensive mind on the same team, in line with, just a general manager and organization that's able to develop. And the Chiefs just have a mental toughness that's really hard. And it's disappointing as a Bills fan. I think right going into the game, it just felt like this year was different. It felt the whole team, just the whole year, just felt like a really well gelled team. It just felt like we had, I don't know, that kind of a magic. It just felt like we had a special energy this year, and it's definitely disappointing, especially after the game where it's not really, you can't point to one player or one thing that's wrong. I think there'll be plenty of time this offseason to kind of deep dive and pick apart, where we need to improve. But it's kind of disappointing because it just felt like, we're right there with them. We had them where we wanted them again. I mean, 3.5 minutes, we had the ball, we had the game in our control, and we just weren't able to, just execute and really finish them away. And I think, there's some questionable calls, but I think ultimately it was just the coaching. I would have liked to see some, better play calls, and especially that final drive. The opening drive too, I thought was a pretty poor way to open it. I loved Josh running the ball on the first play, but I would love to see some runs, and would have really liked to see some, just more commitment to the run. I mean, James Cook, he was excellent. It seemed like the Chiefs had no answer, and for some reason we just didn't. I think there's an alternative universe, and I think there was an opportunity for us there to really, run the ball and exploit our advantage in the run game. And ultimately, the Chiefs won, and they're the Supreme King. And it's disappointing because, we always say there'll be next year, but it's just so hard to get to this level, to get into the Final Four, to be in the AFC Championship game. And you just don't know how many more opportunities we're really going to get at it. I mean, I know it's kind of all dependent on Josh Allen, but we're just one injury or one poor season away. It just feels like we really have to get it soon. I mean, this is now, 4 times in 5 years, and it's disappointing. And I think that's kind of where I am today, but I think I'd like to, try to paint a optimistic picture and maybe bring some optimism to the Bills. I think to do that, I think you really have to understand that this year was kind of a soft rebuild year. It was really right. Last year we had to get rid of kind of the old core, which was, Stephon Diggs, Mitch Morris, Gabe Davis, Poyer, Hyde. And really we're transitioning to this new era where it's Josh and some new players. And this year it was really, it was, we were planning on being competitive, but I think we kind of exceeded expectations, and that makes me positive. I think with this year, the Diggs cap hit comes off our caps. That's $30 million. And I think we've got 10 draft picks. So I think we've kind of cleared the cap, and we have, right in our current regime, head coach and GM, it's not that they're great. They're a great duo. They're one of the best in the NFL, but it's really, when you get to this point of the season, you're not comparing yourself against, the rest of the league. You're comparing yourself against the Chiefs, who are, the gold platinum standard of the league. And we're still just a little bit behind them. I think, I'd like to see us start really hitting on our high picks. I think, with Dalton Kincaid dropping that pass, and even, it's disappointing to see even the Xavier Worthy versus Keon Coleman, right? We traded down, the Chiefs got Worthy, and then, also the Kaiir Elam first round pick, when, the Chiefs traded above us to get Trent McDuffie, where McDuffie is an elite corner, and Kaiir Elam really did not play up to standards yesterday. So it's kind of, I think there's some gaps in personnel, and I would love to see us, again, just try to get tougher. It just seems like at the end of the year, the Chiefs defense is just tough, mentally tough. They're more physical than us, and it just seems like I'd like to see that kind of be our move towards the philosophy. I think over the last few years, you've seen the offense kind of transition from a more, air raid attack to kind of a really a run first physical game. I'd love to see the defense follow suit. And, it's disappointing, but there's also room for optimism just given our cap situation. I mean, we still have Allen, and we'll have the ability to retool and reload here. But again, we've got to get one here soon, because at some point, right, the rest of the league is going to catch up. And I know the Chiefs are, it's been 7 years now. They've been the AFC Championship. It's really hard to maintain that standard. And I'm hopeful that we can get one, because I was joking with a coworker that's kind of from out the region, and just knowing how a win, even just a Super Bowl appearance, would really do a lot for the region and the city's psyche. I think we're very similar to Canada in a way of, with hockey, we're Bills here. It's part of our psyche, is, and that's has some pros and drawbacks. I could get into, how our local government has really spent too much resources on a private enterprise, which is the Bills. But again, it's kind of the nature of our region, and more disappointing just for, all the fans. And even this year, I'm not upset this year. It's more, okay, we've kind of come to accept this is the normal. And I feel bad for some of the older Bills fans that lived through the 4 Super Bowls. it was just crazy how they were able to flip a switch like nothing happened because they've been through. And I feel like the more you experience, the more you just accept that this is the way it is, which is disappointing.